So this is what the turntable motor is doing after it had its little accident in the windstorm. I'm going to be quiet so you can hear it maybe. But it's definitely jerking and incorrect. Now when you put the platter on it, the platter has enough angular momentum, or however a physicist would describe that, to smooth that out. So any little, that's one of the reasons this platter is so heavy, is to smooth out and dampen any of the noise or any vibrations that would come from the motor or the rest of the system. And this is it. It's the AT-LP140XP turntable. These turntables are absolutely fantastic. Very rugged. I did upgrade the cartridge that it came with to the next best one that Audio-Technica makes. I bought one as a backup to this rig, and I liked it so much I bought a second one to to become my main cartridges, and then bought the one that's bought the cartridge that's and I kept one of the original lower level cartridges to act as my backup, and then I sold the fourth one, one of the originals, on eBay as a used one. So anyway, this is the project for today. We're going to reach in there and hopefully replace the motor. All right, today we're going to go inside the the Audio-Technica AT-LP140XP turntable and replace the direct drive motor, which here, I should set this, and came from Audio-Technica parts department. I would be a little careful with it. There are some caps and stuff on the bottom you don't want to bend or break off. Their parts department was great, as I said before, and everything is good to go. So what we're going to do is remove these screws and take this round plate off. I was thinking before that I would leave these screws attached, thinking that the motor, but I think now that I look at it, the screws are going to go in here, and this is going to attach to the chassis on the bottom. So I'm going to take all the screws out. I got some old pill bottles here, which work great for parts. Another thing that works good for parts in a lot of hobbies is those little fishing lure trays that got the multiple compartments, although they can be hard to get out of there once they're in there. Johnny, ever the professional, my best buddy, Johnny Parrish, the producer, is running the camera. He also is an experienced electronics technician. And he pointed out that I did not have this last screw out. I'm not sure what that's for. We're going to find out. Fortunately, I have another pill bottle for that last teeny little screw. Okay, now let's see if we can get this platter up. Yeah, okay, it comes right up. There we go. Oh, I did not expect that. That there would be... Oh, I thought we were going to get right into the... Might have to go in from the other side. Okay. We're going to pause and find out if that's the case. All right, we're back and checking out this AT-LP140XP turntable. We went in through the top to start out and unscrewed this plate from the top of the turntable, and these inner 4 or 5 screws are actually attached to the motor here. So this is the motor assembly, as has been supplied to us from the AT parts department. That was great. So right now with those screws off the top, it is loose on this side. And then we've got 2 screws here, a screw here for the ground, for the whole job. And then we've got 2 connectors here and here. And they're warning about soldering. That was probably some boilerplate that they, you know, put on all the parts they sell. Hey, you might have to solder this. So I thought maybe have to solder it. I got the soldering kit over on the table over there ready to go. And Johnny here, just in case, because he's a master solderer, much better than I am, I'm sure. So anyway, we're going to take this off and get this motor assembly out of here. Let's start with the ground screw. Oh, I found a couple of handy parts holders here. Since we went over number-wise, I have 5 different types of screws. This is going to make 6, but that's not going to go far, hopefully. Actually, well, let's just leave it right there for now. And then these other 2 screws, and we should be good to go. Now I'm going to get, I might snip that off of there. It's on, there's a wire tie here. And to make sure the wires don't move around. Oh, before I forget. So when I took the bottom off, there's a whole bunch of screws here. The feet aren't involved in taking the bottom off at all. But this was a little surprise in here. Is this nice plate. This is solid steel. That's a steel plate. I was thinking, oh, it's aluminum or something like that. No, the purpose of this, well, it provides some shielding, certainly, because it's a solid metal plate, but it adds a lot of weight to the whole turntable assembly. I mean, without that, this would be a lot lighter. But the whole turntable assembly, and this is one of the things I like about this turntable a lot, is that it is nice and heavy. And that heaviness helps it dampen the vibrations, dampen the feedback, everything like that. It makes it feel solid, you know, like you're not going to kill it if you something happens to it. Now, I was describing before the little windstorm accident that happened with this. And I want to say something about these turntables because I said they are rugged and I really like them a lot. What I mean by rugged is DJ type rugged, where I put them in a flight case a couple of times a week maybe, tote them someplace, pull them out, set them up, break them down. Every time I do, I level it because that's what you got to do with a turntable. But they're very rugged for that. The reason this one had a problem is there was a windstorm at the end of a gig I was doing outside last February, or April rather. And this is a JBL 12 speaker, similar to this powered speaker, but it's an EV15. So it's a good 6 inches higher than this one and 3 inches wider. So that thing was on a speaker stand, it blew over in the windstorm, hit the corner of the turntable. The turntable comes up, does a somersault. I don't know if it was just a 360 or 720 or what it was. Does a somersault, comes right down on the top. And I am like totally instantly freaked out by this. And I'm like, it's gonna be dead. In like 9 different ways. Nothing happened to the tone arm. I don't remember if it came down with the plastic cover on it or not. I was so traumatized at the moment. But I do know that the motor was affected. And I took some video of that earlier, and that's in here where it shows what the motor is doing. And it does need to be replaced. So anyway, let's go on with getting this out of here. So it's loose now. I just got to disconnect these connectors gently. Let's do this one first. These may have, no, it's going to come right out. Just, there we go. Okay, happy about that too. They're on there with enough force that they're not going to come out while they're being transported or anything. Oh, that tie down came right out, and there we go. There's the old motor assembly. Here's the new one. Make sure it's lining up here. And actually, having those screws like that is most helpful. and getting it lined up on the top, because we're gonna have to flip it over and screw the lid back on. Whoa. We'll edit that out. This guy can't even put in a screw. Why would we watch his YouTube video? I don't know. All right, here we are, Sunday afternoon in the park with George. So I've screwed everything back together, screwed this top plate on, screwed the bottom back on. It all went together real easy. And now we're good to go. This is the new motor. This is the old messed up one, and we're gonna fire her up. I got the power on. Well, that is an interesting result now, isn't it? This is suggesting to me that there is a different problem than the motor that is making it do that. But it's not making any noise anymore. I wonder if it's supposed to just run like that. Okay.
Maybe it needed counterweight of the platter.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I mean, the platter is quite heavy, and okay, so it's firing right up. It's going right to the correct, I don't know if the camera will pick this up because of the strobe effect, but it's got the correct strobe indicating that it's right on the 33 1/3 RPMs, and it's silent. And earlier I took a little video of it making a whole bunch of noise. So, well, that's quite odd how that motor is, but yeah, that maybe it's trying to adjust constantly, but it needs that counterweight anyway. All right, thanks for joining me today. We've replaced the motor on the Technica AT-LP140XP turntable. And before, just after we replaced it, took some video of it after the replacement, just under normal operating circumstances. And the reason that gave me pause is because it looks a little silly or a little funny, or whatever you want to call it. Here, this is the result. You could barely hear it ticking under these circumstances. But I think I know what's going on here. And the reason I know is because I have a identical turntable here. The silver one I refer to as Mrs. Marcellus Wallace, this being Marcellus Wallace. So Mrs. Marcellus Wallace does the exact same thing. And what I'm thinking is going on here is there's an integrated circuit speed control. That's part of the features of this turntable. Very excellent features. It's got a quartz lock on it if you want. And that's what's doing it here. So we've got integrated circuit speed control that's trying to correct constantly for it not having the mass of this platter on here. And this is the platter. It's quite heavy. I don't know, it's got to be 4 or 5 pounds, something like that. 3-4 pounds. Anyway, it's quite heavy. And I'm going to put the platters back on Marcellus Wallace and Mrs. Marcellus Wallace. Put the platters back on and play some music to give it a test. Okay, thanks for sticking with me. This is the end of the film, pretty much. This is the part where the rubber meets the road. My name's Colin Lamb. Again, thanks to Johnny Parrish for shooting the video and helping me with the sound and being my technical go-to when I had questions about the procedure or anything like that when we were taking the turntable apart. He was most reassuring and helpful. So thanks again, Johnny. Okay, so I've got Mrs. Marcellus Wallace and Marcellus Wallace here. Marcellus is the one that had the accident. Oh, and give me a sec here, and I'm going to cue this up. And we'll be right back. So what I want to do here, well, I could start here. That's I'm going to test it just by starting it up, but it's already on the track. So it's going to go rip and play normally really quickly. And you'll be able to hear how fast it spins up. and then it'll spin down, and there's not going to be any platter noise or anything like we saw earlier in the video from the motor being messed up. Yeah, it's getting up to speed in like a quarter of a revolution. You can see the markings. I always use the markings on the label to track where the record is revolution wise, and on the platter. I back cue it about so that's the last tune that was on there. Digital speed control on the turntable gets going right back at the normal speed really quickly. Okay, so this little label, the little white ones in the front, we're gonna, whoa, right there. So we're gonna backtrack half a revolution. That's my normal procedure. And I'm gonna start her up and we'll see what happens. See, perfect. Perfect, it's at speed right away. That's exactly what we wanna see. And just to wrap up, I just wanted to go over a couple of things. I did make some notes here. What did we learn from replacing the motor? Well, for one thing, on that top platter, when you're detaching the motor from the turntable with the 4 main screws that mount the mount the motor to the turntable, you don't have to take out that outside round ring of screws around the outside of that platter on the top of the turntable. Just take out the 5 screws in the middle, the 4 main screws and the small 5th screw, and that's all you need to take out and set those aside. What else did we learn? Procedure wise, so I would remove those inner screws first, those 4 plus the 1 that are on the top of the turntable. Then remove the bottom, that's the outside ring of screws. You don't have to take the feet off. Then after you have the bottom taken off, you'll see the circuit board in the middle and the motor in the middle. Remove the ground screw, then detach the connectors, the control connectors from the printed circuit board. That's the 5th step. So step 6, remove 2 screws that are at the top of that printed circuit board that mount the motor and the whole PCB assembly to the chassis on the top. Then you remove, just gently pull the motor out, and then to do the final fix up, just reverse the procedure. There's not much to it. Make sure you don't over tighten the screws. You never want to do that when you're screwing a metal screw into plastic. Just be careful with that. Ideally, you'd have a torque wrench, but just be gentle with screwing them in there and you'll do just fine. Hey, thanks for sticking with us at the end here. Hope that summary of those steps helped, and we'll see you next time.